everyone, and welcome to Your Health in Your Hands. I'm Dr. David Ajibade with the Brain and Body Foundation, and we are going to be talking about autism today. And you may wonder, what's the big deal about autism? Well, for one, we started the foundation, our first patients were actually children who had very, very severe forms of autism, and we found out that we could make a difference there. And then, of course, that kind of grew from autism to Down syndrome to other brain disorders, and then to sickle cell disease, to strokes, and on and on and on and on it went. But the core of who we are and what we've been doing has always been autism. Who was it? I believe it was Winston Churchill that first of all said that, he said Russia to him was like a mystery enveloped in an enigma, wrapped up in a riddle. He just could not understand Russia. Well, I feel the same way about autism. Autism is like this complete riddle. Just when you think you've gotten the handle of it from one angle, you get another patient that has the same symptoms, the same problems, and does not respond to the treatment that worked for the first one. So we're constantly learning, we're constantly trying to innovate and to change and to improve so that we can at least help as many people as possible. Because as you know, autism is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. But in the current stats in the US is one in less than 50 children has autism. That's a disaster. It's a tragedy as far as I'm concerned. And right now, modern medicine hasn't really gotten a handle on it. And therefore, we reach out, and that's why we like to work with and partner with other individuals and organizations who are having a unique approach and are getting really good success. And our guest today is whom I regard as a brilliant genius and also a personal friend and mentor from a country called Poland, and also from Germany, I understand, who is, his resume is long enough to choke a horse. But Dr. Andrzej Kulish, welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
You bet. And we've had several discussions over the years about all kinds of things. And I just want to thank you for being a friend and being a support to us.
So let's talk about autism if you wanted to.
But first, Doc, let's say a little bit about who you are. I think let's let our guests have an idea of who you are and what you bring to the table when it comes to autism, if you don't mind.
Well, you see, I am a PhD physicist with specializing in applications of physics in medicine, specifically in writing mathematical models of absent and incompetent human organs or processes. And as time progressed, I went through medical school, naturopathic medical school, and I have probably with autism about 20 years of experience right now. You know, I'm a pretty old guy. I'm 76-year-old, you know, so.
76, wow, you look great.
Bald head and all this. But what happened was that about 20 years ago, I got a patient, a mother brought a boy, autistic boy, and they really didn't know what to do about it. I just wanted to help. I understood subconsciously that it's a major neurological condition that the child is dealing with, that I couldn't help. Excuse me. And what happens is that his mother was so persistent, right here from San Antonio, actually, San Antonio, Texas, that I felt compelled to dive, so to speak, into the field. And very quickly, I made some discoveries that allowed me to actually address some of those autistic problems initially. And then as time progressed, as I got a larger group of patients, and you know, I really have very few patients from the United States. I had most of my patients are overseas. I mean, including Ethiopia, you know, and South Korea and Australia, European Union, of course, and some others. So what happens is that this brought a large amount of experience from different ethnicities and different social groups, which usually doctors don't have. And being a physicist, I was able to write computer programs that actually were able to evaluate all this all this information to give me very tangible indicators of what works, what doesn't. Because you see, the most of people, and I resent, let me put it this way. I resented the statement when doctors tell patients that something cannot be treated or cannot be, the patient cannot be recovered or cured or who are they? I mean, I am a Christian, I don't think that those are gods, So what happens is that getting back to what I told you, that having this large amount of information, large amount of data, and writing a special database that was evaluating it and things of that sort, I came to very, very specific conclusions upon which I built my recovery program for autistic children that actually are doing very well. And let me put it this way, over 60%, close to 70% of children that were in my program, within probably about a year and a half, they were going to normal schools or they were joining a group of peers without limitations. You see, because there is no definition, and you interrupt me anytime you feel like I'm a talkative guy, so just there's no definition of normalcy. And in fact, I kind of resent this statement of normal child, because you see, when it comes to it, Einstein couldn't tie her shoelaces, So what happens is, should it not be that he had his cousin with him all the time, he would probably lose his shoes. So we cannot tell what's normal, what's not. We can definitely tell who is talented or what's the talent. And I can tell you that I see it continuously, repeatedly, that autistic children are super talented very often. Right. That there is this element of intellect that makes up for those neurological deficiencies. And right. This is phenomenal. I mean, this is absolutely phenomenal. I had a situation in, let me think, in France or in Sweden, I don't remember, that 14-year-old boy has been admitted to university to the Department of Architecture because he had such wonderful tridimensional imagination,
And this was a child with autism, an individual with autism?
That's an autistic child, right.
Was he treated?
Yeah.
Under your care?
That is correct, yes.
Wow. So those are what are the things, and we see them also in Nigeria, but like we were discussing offline before we started the show, many of these kids are the other comorbidities, shall we say, like aggression, hyperactivity, inability to speak. It's worse in Africa, by the way, than it is in, let's say, the US. Yeah. Most kids with autism cannot speak.
Let me address this, what you've said.
Okay.
Yes, you are right. Those are very substantial problems of autistic children, but actually, you see, when you restore okay, maybe I should put it this way. There is a common element to autistic children, all of them that I've seen. All of them have gastrointestinal problems, and all of them are dehydrated.
Really?
So having children with gastrointestinal problems, you have a child that is malnourished, or sometimes even is starving because gut doesn't work properly, doesn't digest, doesn't absorb nutrients. And when you have dehydrated child, then you have situation where neurology simply doesn't work very well because you really need good hydration to it.
Right.
The part of it is, I blame parents for some of it, because when I talk to parents, sometimes at the beginning particularly, they tell me, well, my little Johnny doesn't want to drink anything else but Coca-Cola. See, this is not a Johnny's problem, this is parents' problem. If I want to be a friend to my child. No, you're not supposed to be a friend. You're supposed to be a parent. Right. Parenting is a job. So once you restore gastrointestinal tract, really, then you will see changes in behavior of autistic child. But you see, a lot of people says that autistic children are misbehaving. Well, this is not quite true. They just behave like autistic children that want to communicate, because there is this element of intellect coming that is basically developing in a child, autistic or otherwise, and child needs form of communication. Child needs to communicate. And if child cannot speak because Broca area, the brain part of the speech synthesis is dysfunctional, then the only way to call attention and to make something happen is to throw tantrum. You know, and so this is so important to teach children to communicate. It doesn't matter if it's a sign language or pictures or whatever else it is. If they cannot speak, which can come much later, then once they start communicating, the bad behavior goes away right away. So
we're going to need to take a short break at this point. And then when we get back, sorry to interrupt, but when we get back, I really would like us to go through your process without revealing everything. But when a patient comes to you or a parent brings a child to you, what's your process, the overall view? And because I'm really intrigued by this whole idea of the gastrointestinal system, dehydration, malnourishment, and how that relates to autism and how you are able to address those and fix and help these kids with autism. And I really think people will benefit tremendously from just understanding that process. So
okay, let me tell you this. I mean, you know that, so actually to your listeners more. The gut or gastrointestinal tract is the second most neurological system of the brain. And there is a very strong connection, hardwired connection, so to speak, between gut and brain. So if the gastrointestinal tract is not working, this is not that it doesn't digest or doesn't absorb or doesn't defecate or remove the waste. Also, the neurological part doesn't work. Take a look at it. A lot of children are constipated. This is not a problem. I mean, it may be partially a problem of food, but it's definitely a neurological problem because peristaltis doesn't work. And the peristaltis, you know, if the peristaltis doesn't work, there is no movement of those fecal masses out. So you see that there is a lot of moving parts to this whole system. So when I'm talking about restoration of gastrointestinal tract, I'm not talking only about digestion and absorption. I'm talking about the whole thing, so to speak, including neurology, including possible parasites, including somatic dysfunctions that we don't know at the beginning, you know. So as the process progresses, then a lot of those things are coming to the surface. And I can assure you, I've seen it every time, or almost every time, that the child that gets better with the gastrointestinal tract starts behaving better, starts becoming huggable. You know, when parents hug together, they usually try to squeeze themselves in the middle. So there is a completely different situation. So that's the gastrointestinal tract. And then you will find out, you will find out that parents will call you and tell you, you know, he's behaving differently. Actually, he likes us. You know? So it's relatively simple. And after the gut is restored, which takes about, let me put it this way, restoration of the function does not mean that gut is completely healed. It doesn't. But the restoration of the function allows me to start providing neurological formulations, to start restoring those neurological profiles in the child. And then this combined with the fact that I demand from parents weekly reports, I have it on the cloud, that they do weekly reports on progress, then you can see changes numerically represented changes that I can tell what is happening. Why is it happening? Probably, oh, we had a Christmas and child declined. Well, there was Well,
Cake.
you know, he ate a lot of cookies and a lot of stuff and a lot of sugar. And okay, but keep him away from it. The same applies to the parental, to the family relations. You know, if there is no, if family is not living, is not close together, living, caring, being kind to each other, then child is not going to progress. One argument, one loud argument in a family can set back child for about a month or two. So it's
Doc,
a lot.
Yeah, Doc, yes, you're throwing so much information at once, and we got to digest this. Now, you just threw a bomb just now. If there's an argument, tell you what, let's take a quick break now, and then I'm going to need you to explain that, Doc. So we'll be right back, folks. Give us a minute. All right, welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Andrew Coolish. We are talking about autism. And Doc, explain how an argument between parents can worsen a child's autistic situation. Please.
Okay, the autistic children generally and autistic children specifically are very intuitive. And they use this ability of intuition in autistic children is really like extra sense in a way. You know, remember, they are not neurologically normal. So in any time there is a sense of insecurity or danger, which arguments usually bring, can set the child back. So it is very important to keep environment in a family that is caring, loving, close together, warm, because child feels very well in it, feels very secure. The security is a very important element in it, the sense of security. And you will see that the child will function completely differently. Incidentally, you are going to see it at home when grandparents are coming or some friends are coming that have not seen the child for a long time. And they will tell you, wow, what a difference it is. And you will take the same child outside to a very noisy supermarket or noisy restaurant, and the first thing the child may do is this, because child will be overwhelmed with stimuli. Nice. So the whole idea is to let the child develop, you know. And when I say that children are getting back to the environment where to meeting group or getting into the group of peers without limitations, I'm not talking about calendar peers, so to speak, because if child has been delayed, say 2 years or 3 years, child is going to come to the group, and child is say 10-year-old, they will come to the group of about 77-year-olds because intellectual development will be of the 7 years. But right. Eventually, child is going to catch up. So I'm not really. For me, is to set the child on the track of the recovery, and once it's done, it will work.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's rewind. A parent comes to you with a 4-year-old child. Child was acting normally and developing normally till about 2.5, 3 years of age, and all of a sudden, sometimes they use the term, the child just disappears before our very eyes. We don't. It's like he's still there looking at us, but he's not behaving like Johnny was behaving before. Tell us through your thinking process and
we see. I represent a point of view. I mean, I try to be very economically sound doctor. So what happens is that when parents are coming to me, they always, before they come, they do a special questionnaire that shows me condition of a child. So once they are coming to me, I already know most of it. So I don't spend time with them asking questions and asking. I'm already prepared. It's very important to me to be prepared for patient's visit. And at that time, we are making a decision what to do about it. Incidentally, you mentioned 4-year-old child as an example. Children between about 3.5 and 5-year-old are perfect for treatment because they still develop very dynamically, and it's very easy to correct all those development deficiencies. You know, the older the child gets, the more difficult it is. But the point is that I respect parents' time and I respect parents' financial situation. So I try to be as effective as I can, and having numerical representation of the process is very, very important to me. I will be happy to share it with you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Doc. So they come to you, they've already filled out the forms, you have an idea of what's going on. What's the next step?
Well, the next step is that I'm telling them what I think needs to be done, how long it is going to take, because I have enough of experience to tell how long it may take. And I always tell them the very important statement. Remember, helping autistic child is like watching grass grow. You know, it's a slow process, and you have to be very patient. So once they accept this type of view, then all of a sudden things are getting much better, because they are much ready. They are ready, and they get this sense that there is a way to help. Now, there is another group of parents that really don't care much. They want to store the child somewhere in the institution when child is committed, literally, to some psychological treatment, some drugs, some you know, it's not my style, and I tell parents not to do it, you know. So that's basically all there is.
So what if a doctor is hearing this and the argument is that, well, aren't you going to do any tests, any lab tests or any radiological, are we going to look at the brain? I mean, how do you know this child has this? How do you know this child has that? I know you've mentioned from your experience, but how do you debunk that? Because like you said, most of the parents are outside the USA. So
most of parents have already done tons of tests, and those tests are relatively fresh, probably 3-4 months old. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that they are looking for help, and they have been through probably dozen and dozen of practitioners, doctors, therapists, and others that demanded tons of tests, and there was no improvement, because literally those tests don't help. And other than provide some information. Yeah. Let me give you an example. A lot of parents and a lot of practitioners say that hair analysis is a good analysis for heavy metals and for some other things.
Right.
Well, yes, but the point is that it takes several weeks for hair to grow, and this hair is exposed to the environment. It's exposed to the exhaust of the cars. It's exposed to the shampoos with aluminum that parents are washing children's hair. That the hair has everything the child has ever been around. So when they are clipped the hair and analyze it, then all of a sudden all this stuff is coming to the surface, and all this stuff is written into the test report, and everybody said, "Wow, and he's still alive." It shouldn't be that way. So I represent the different views. Now, there is one thing that you may see, and I'm kind of taking a clip out of my experience. You may see children that have thrush, that have candida, and they can be very affected with this. Nothing seems to be working. Well, candida is a great indicator of heavy metal toxicity.
Especially mercury, right?
That is correct, right? So the candida chelates heavy metals. You know, so if you have a lot of candida and there is nothing that works, just try to address the toxicity and detoxify the child. There's several ways to do it. But what happens is that, once again, folks, autism is a very multidimensional element, and you need somebody that is a good guide to guide you through it and help you. So we have this gastrointestinal tract restoration. Then what happens is that giving children cytosols of brain tissues or neurological and animal neurological tissues is incredibly beneficial. It just literally builds children up. So, you know, you don't need to go to some mind-altering drugs, you know, to go. Just give children food, and that would most likely be very beneficial. So we can talk about it specifically some other time. But the point, I would like parents to know that as long as you have hope, your children have a chance.
I love it. That's good, because parents, That's what parents are looking for. They're looking for hope. And I know parents who take kids from one doctor to the other, from one commerce to the other, just looking for hope. I think I'll remember this the next time. Speaking of, by the way, the parent I'm thinking about now, who came to meet us, and we gave her one of the supplements you recommended, and within a few weeks, that she came back to my clinic with a large jar of 3 large, and I mean large, worms that had come out of her son while he was stooling.
I've seen it. You sent me the video of it.
Yes.
It's Ascaris, right?
Ascaris. So it could even be as a result, autism could even be as a result of infestations from worms, do you think?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, Doc, in our next. And
I would like to, David, I would like to mention one thing to you.
Yes, sir.
That infections, this kind of infections, is not specific to the country or a country, because we have massive parasite infections here in the United States. There is a lot of parasite infections in England and in Germany, from my experience, you know. So when people are talking about third world countries, which is, they have never traveled, I guess, outside of their country. So they say, well, you know, trust me, parasites are everywhere. It's a part of our ecology, and the whole idea is to basically live life that is free of them. You know, maintain clean hands, maintain some basic you know, cleanliness that probably would do well.
So, folks, thank you for joining us today. Dr. Coolish will be back next week to give us more detail and more insights into how he at the college. Doc, so what's your email, your website address and your email address? And,
well, people can look me up at the website address. I have 2 addresses. One is like my last name, KULISZ.com. KULISZ.com, or there is another address, is ENHcenter.com, American Spelling Center, ER.
Fantastic. All the very best where that's concerned. So we will see you next week, folks, and thank you, Dr. Coolish.
You take care. Have a great day. Thanks.